Jindal. Thanks very much for joining us here, Mr. Jindal. Let me start by asking you about the overall outlook as far as each of your businesses are concerned. I mean, you've gone through boom and bust cycles. The mood here in Davos today is one of pessimism and caution, though the mood in India is different in comparison to what we're seeing globally. What's the broad outlook for you?
I think if we talk about the industries that I am involved with, steel, cement, power and infrastructure, India is a growth story. It's continuing to grow, though we are heading into the election time, but still India remains quite robust. Global, there are headwinds, whether our exports are concerned because of the global trade situation, China getting affected by the US, and European Union also is looking to protect their own market. So there is a lot of global headwinds, and the world is quite a dynamic place, and at the moment, a lot of changes are taking place in the world. But India remains I'm quite positive on India.
You know, you talked about protection across the world, but the Indian steel industry has also been asking for protection. We've seen measures being taken, but more is the demand of Indian steel makers. What exactly are you looking for?
You know, the problem with steel industry is that the product, the material can flow in any direction because the cost of transportation is minimal. Therefore, every country in the world, if you look at United States or look at Europe or European Union, look at Japan, Korea, China, Brazil, every country tries to protect their own home market because steel is very strategic to the country, because you cannot rely on imported steel for everything. You need to produce your own steel, and India is a large country. So therefore, you know, we as an industry, we always want that our industry there should be a fair competition. Their imports are coming, for example, today, Japan and Korea, they don't allow any imports. They have non-tariff barriers, huge amount of non-tariff barriers. But we have FTA with Japan and Korea, and a lot.
So you want safeguard duties on countries where we have an FTA?
FTA, because a lot of steel comes from Japan and Korea into India at 0% duty, so which is not fair to the Indian steel industry.
Okay. You know, I asked you about the outlook, but what does that mean in terms of investments across each of your businesses? What can we expect?
So I'm fairly bullish on India, as I said earlier, and we continue to invest in India. I'm a great believer in India story, and I believe that India will continue to grow, continue to expand. And
so what kind of expansion plans have you lined up?
For example, our steel business is today 18 million tons. We have 2 plants coming up, each of 5 million tons. First one will get completed by in the next fiscal, and the next one will get over in the next year after fiscal. So therefore, we will have 10 million tons coming up. Plus, we have some inorganic growth through the IBC process, where we are participating in acquiring some assets. So therefore, we are looking that by 2025, we should be organically, we should get to a 40 million ton capacity in steel, and inorganically, if we add up, maybe close to 50 million tons, which is a significant capacity.
IPO for the cement business, because that has been something that you've been considering for a while, but are we likely to see that go through?
Yeah, I mean, we need to get to a critical capacity before we really do the IPO, so probably 2-3 years down the road.
And is an inorganic strategy the route to be able to get to that critical capacity in the cement business as well?
We are open to those ideas as well, to get to that capacity. Even, I mean, organically we'll get there in 2 years, but if we can add capacities through inorganic routes, that's.
Are you actively looking at anything?
Not very actively. I mean, there are opportunities which are on the drawing board, on the horizon, but we haven't yet got the value.
It's just a valuation issue?
It's, yeah, valuation, market, quality.
Your presence is largely in the south and the west.
South and the west, yeah. Now we have 2 plants in the east as well. We don't have anything in the north, and we are seriously looking at if something we can acquire in the north to become pan-India.
You talked about the IBC process, and one matter is sub judice. The other is also sub judice, but of course, we don't know what the outcome will be. This battle for SR Steel, what's your take on how that's going to play out?
No, I mean, SR Steel is a big steel company at about 10 million ton nearly. So it's a very significant play, and ArcelorMittal is very seriously looking at it. I mean, at the moment they are the highest bidder, and they are most likely to get to the victory line. There's a lot of.
Why did you decide to throw your hat into the ring?
We haven't. I mean, we were at one time we were looking at Bhushan Steel very keenly, and therefore we did not participate in SR because we thought that Bhushan Steel was a better asset, which we lost to Tata Steel. And thereafter we started becoming a little more interested in SR to look at whether there was a way to consolidate that industry, because Tata Steel is consolidating in the east, and whether we could consolidate in the west. So that's the idea. I mean, I'm not sure whether I will be able to do that, but because ArcelorMittal is there with the highest bidder, but because of various litigations, let's see what happens.
Any other specific stressed assets that you would be interested in across these sectors?
I mean, in steel, we don't see any more assets left, because others are all very small and don't have the critical mass for us to take interest. We have, as I said, big plans to grow organically. So therefore, we are not looking at other than Bhushan Power and Steel and SR Steel.
This diversification into the paints business or into the electric vehicle space, is that something that you seriously wanted to do, or is that something that Parth wanted to do and you've decided to support his decision?
So cement and paint is Parth's area of activity. He enjoys that. He likes to get into business which has higher market multiples, as well as which is a B2C business. My main focus has been on B2B business and more commodity businesses. But this auto has been I've been very keen to get into auto business for a long time. But
why?
I don't know, probably childhood dream or something that I wanted to make a car, but there were so many people in the world doing it, and everybody.
Even Tesla is struggling with his electric vehicles.
I know. But I never get worried about the struggle, because I enjoy struggle, and I always look for trouble. That's been my DNA.
But it's also gotten you into trouble.
It has. Because if you look for trouble, you will get into trouble. So I have always looked for trouble, and probably my father also was like that. He always got into areas which were very difficult and which created, but he would also take chances, and that's what he enjoyed. If things would work well, he would go to the plant and he say, okay, stop this, I want to make a complete change. And we would get very upset that why you are doing that, but he said, no, I'm not enjoying it anymore, it's working too smoothly.
But can you make those bets today? I mean, you've gone through a CDR process, for instance, in the past, and there is erosion of wealth and value. Can you make those kinds of bets today?
No, why not? I mean, you see, I'm not going to do any erosion of wealth in my steel business. That's a business which is working well and which is doing well. So it's on an auto mode. My involvement in that is not too much. I mean, I'm leading it, but I'm more like a chairman and providing the leadership at that level. But in auto, I feel that that's something where I want to have fun, and I want to enjoy that.
So what kind of investments are we talking about? And have you tied up with? There's a lot of talk around you tying up with Chinese manufacturers, etc.
No,
what's the story?
No. Chinese, we looked at because China is very big on EV, and Tesla kind of stuff cannot work in India. It's too expensive. It's too high tech. So Chinese EV is a very good model for India. So we looked at all those cars, and most of every Chinese company wanted to tie up with us. But we are not looking at Chinese, because to sell a Chinese product in India is going to be a very difficult thing. And last coming from a JSW saddle. So So therefore, we did not. So we are looking at a German concept,
Okay.
and technology would come from Germany and or Austria, and that we would be doing it 100% JSW.
And manufacturing in India.
Of course, 100%.
Okay. So what is going to be the positioning of this electric vehicle, and when do we actually see it being commercialized? Because, you know, even companies like Mahindra, who've had the first mover advantage, continue to struggle in the Indian market.
No, I think there is still time for the electric vehicle to come into India, and because we don't have the infrastructure, still the technology is still developing. Because you know, when you come with the product, it must match the IC engine technology. You know, it must have that same acceleration. It must
And range.
and range. Yeah. So that's why. So we believe that in 2 to 3 years, the batteries will become very cheap, and the range will increase a lot. And I don't really worry about the infrastructure, because India, I always believe that India is a very, very different kind of a country, where the infrastructure will come as the product gets launched. For example, the aircrafts came before the airports were built in India, in the sense that, you know, and today we see Bombay, we are roaming around for half an hour congestion. So now new airport is being expedited, and new highways are being built. So that would happen.
So this is a serious plan.
No, absolutely serious. It will happen.
How much money are you putting?
Money it's in excess of $1 billion.
In excess of $1 billion. And are you also looking at getting into the battery space?
So battery, we are not directly looking at it, because it's again a very technology-driven product, and the technology is moving very fast in battery. As I said, the batteries are becoming cheaper, and it's becoming a commodity, and the range is increasing, it's becoming lighter. So there's a lot of research is going on in the battery field, so we don't want to get into that. That's being done by the Americans, the Europeans, and the Koreans and the Japanese in a big way.
So where will the $1 billion come from?
Oh, so that we will find somewhere.
You'll find somewhere. Okay, so let me end then by asking you, you know, as you look forward to the next 5 years, the group is trying to reposition itself from a brand perspective as well. And of course, while you're consolidating your existing businesses, you're looking at new areas. What will be the priority that will lead the group?
No, I think clearly steel remains our mainstay. I have great faith in steel business, because I believe it's the best material on earth, and so therefore we will continue to grow this business. We want to be in some position in the world ranking in the steel business, not only from a capacity point of view, but also from a point of view of profitability. We want to be the most profitable steel company in the world. And I think we, being in India and being JSW, we can be that.
So just a quick final question on the EV business. Is this going to be a subsidiary of JSW that will run the operations?
It would be,
how will it work?
It would be a subsidiary of not JSW Steel, but maybe of JSW Energy.
Of JSW Energy. By when can we expect this to sort of take off?
So we are very seriously working on it. I can't say that whether the car would be on road in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, but we are really working. We have a very phenomenal team, a team of youngsters from IITs and engineering colleges, and we are all working very diligently to see that in next 3 years we have a very nice product on the road.
Next 3 years, a nice EV product on the road from the Jindal stable. Sajjan Jindal, always a pleasure. Appreciate you joining us here in Davos. Thanks very much for your time. Wish you all the very best. Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this special from all of us here. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.